but I'm delighted that Jaime Mason has kindly stepped up. She is part of the criminal justice system, but at the other end, trying to find ways to help women get back into society, earn a living, and help themselves in so many different ways. She helps incarcerated women at Rio Cosumnes Correctional Center learn the skills to make them employable almost anywhere as coffee baristas. The title of her talk is Stacking Hearts, Redemption Coffee's Mission Behind Bars and Beyond the Gates. From her start as a teenage coffee barista, Jaime is now Director and Chief Empowerment Officer with the Correctional Center Coffee Education and Barista Program. Founded by her in 2021, this unique program equips incarcerated women with the skills needed to gain employment in the coffee business. She's placed graduates at major roasters throughout Sacramento, including Bewley's and Old Soul. Jaime has trained baristas around the country. In Sacramento, her hometown, she worked for Pachamama and Old Soul. Jaime is a great advocate for the women she helps. She's been featured nationally and locally, including on Capital Public Radio, KFBK, and in Barista and Roast magazines. Jaime's going to tell us how good jobs can help women to do better for themselves, their families, and our community. Jaime, the pot is yours.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Again, I'm Jaime Mason, and I'm the program director out at Rio Cosumnes Correctional Center for Redemption Coffee. I can start by just kind of what the talk is going to be about and kind of why I'm here and why I like to talk to people about the program is because I had no idea that reentry existed before I got a phone call from a lieutenant. So I like to kind of spread the word. So we'll go over kind of the basics of Redemption Coffee, how it all started, why reentry is important, and then what we do at the coffee program at Rio Cosumnes. And hopefully, you know, what's next, what's on the agenda for the future for Redemption Coffee. I should hold this. Okay. Oh, that was me actually. So, sorry, I forgot your name. Jeff said a little about me, and I started as a barista when I was 15 in 1995 at a little mom and pop shop. And that's kind of where it all started for me. I fell in love with coffee and I have not stopped since. Thank you. A little that I didn't say in my background of what I sent you was I was a teenage mom, and I luckily grew up in a family that was incredibly supportive and was never, ever going to let me fail. I had a lot of love and support around me at all times. And not only that, but I met a coffee community that really was inclusive and, you know, just let me flourish. The more I knew and worked in coffee, the more I wanted to understand it. And there's always something to learn and something new in coffee. And that's why I love it. I get kind of bored easily. So it's nice that coffee, there's just so much to learn. So it's always expanding. The mission of Redemption Coffee is really to build those skills, and not only just the skills, but that confidence that's needed to go out into the workforce that you may or may not, you know, be comfortable in. It's scary, right, to get a new job, especially in a field that you're not familiar with. So we try to build the confidence of these women who are there are students, the participants at Redemption Coffee, so they're comfortable in the setting, you know, doing interviews and whatnot, and just providing them with those kind of skills and encouragement, I guess, where we don't just work at Rio Cosumnes. My partner Allison and I, the other instructor, we like to say we go beyond the gates and try to focus on what we can do more outside the gates to help support them. So right now it's only at Rio Cosumnes Correctional Center in Elk Grove. And It was launched in 2021. So this is at the end of the presentation, Deputy Brunsvold will be answering any questions about reentry that I don't know, which is a lot. I can tell you about my program, but as far as reentry goes, that's a whole other beast that I've asked Deputy Brunsvold to come and answer any questions on that. So these are just some of the stats that you can find online, and prisoners are 50% more likely to reoffend if they leave prison without skills or a job. That is, talking to the women and talking to the participants in my program, that is a huge block for them when they get out. They have, like some of the other stuff, the stigma of being in jail or prison, and having to almost like confess to that before you get the job. And a lot of them don't even want to try to go out and interview because they feel like they're just going to fail at that. So they go back to what they knew before. So, and they don't have a lot of the support. So, and a lot of, so the women, they have a number of intersecting needs. So they need a safe place to live. They might be fighting to regain custody of their children, and, struggling with mental health or like drug addictions, which is where the other part of reentry comes in. Like I'm just a small piece to this kind of huge and beautiful ballet. So what I've learned, and I keep learning every day I get to work out at Rio Cosumnes, is the students that we get may not know, they might be just getting, like, going into the program or reentry to get days off their sentence, or get out of the dorm. And then I like to say we get them hooked on coffee, and then they get excited and they kind of, I get to see, and the other instructor gets to see the benefit of that, which they get excited. They get to learn about everything else they can do in coffee. Being a barista is just the beginning. You just, that is like almost like a stepping stool. And you can earn a living wage being a barista. The last woman from one of our graduates was making about $33 an hour doing that, and that's with benefits as well. So it's a good job. It's flexible, and there's a lot of mentors in this community as well. I certainly still talk to all of my mentors. They help me through anything new I need to learn. So it's, again, very inclusive and supportive. And it gives the women a chance to reset their lives and move beyond their jail time experience and hopefully not come back. So Redemption Coffee. So again, these are very inclusive roles. There's not a lot of, when you say you have been to jail to a hiring manager, they're not even going to flinch. It's flexible. It is, you can work as a barista anywhere, not just in this country. You can go over, if you want to go to England, you can go be a barista in England. The skills are the same there. And there's plenty of jobs. So when I'm talking about like barista as a stepping stool, there is a green coffee buyer. There's a trainer like myself. There is roasters. And there's just so much more. I was just talking earlier about coffee technicians. So we have a very huge gap. We have like one good coffee technician in Sacramento County right now. So we need more coffee techs. And we've partnered with a company that actually trains coffee techs. So if any of my students come to me and say, you know what, I'm really interested in learning about how to work on these machines, I call up Workbench Coffee, and they have scholarships for any of my graduates who want to train on learning how to become a technician. And I think I missed the part of like how I started here, which I feel like is incredibly important. So I'm going to back up just for a minute to tell you like why I'm here. I go off on a little tangent sometimes too and get nervous. I was working for a company called Bewley North America, and they're like an umbrella company. If you guys remember Java City, that's one of their companies. Grumpy Mule, who is here on campus. Actually, I have trained the baristas there before for Bewley's. Lieutenant Amos and Lieutenant Rose were in charge of kind of like getting more programs for the women's side for reentry. And they kept getting shut down at coffee shops here in Sacramento because they were officers. So it's the only time I've ever been disappointed in my community. I have like, that's weird. Lieutenant Amos called me up at Bewley's. He's just going down a list because he remembered Java City from the 90s. And he found me. And I couldn't have been more excited. And I'll be honest, I actually started crying on the phone because I had no idea that reentry existed. I thought you are put in jail and that's it. You do your time. There's nothing for you. And he kept talking like with great passion about trying to get these programs and successful programs that women can get jobs on the outside. So I absolutely said yes. My boss said yes, and it kind of started. And then COVID happened. And I traveled a lot for Bewley's. I was one of their North American trainers, and obviously travel was a no-go. So that got shut down. I lost my job in March of 2020 with knowing that I would get hired back at Bewley's when the pandemic ended. But I told Lieutenant Amos that I would volunteer my time to help just build the program out and get a program director hired to oversee the program. And then I got my job back at Bewley's, but then I was offered the program director job, which I denied a few times because I'm highly sensitive and I didn't know if I could handle it. I've only cried once at work from a student. Just, you know, but I'm certainly happy that I took the job because it's given me back extra passion for what I do. And these women are incredible women that we get to work with, and you feel a sense of purpose. So I started in 2020. We built the program out. We had our first student in 2021, opened the cafe up in May of 2021, and we keep just getting more and more students. So, and hopefully more in the future. So this is kind of a rundown of what the program does. And we have a state-of-the-art cafe. So if you go into like say a Temple or the Mill Coffee Shop, that's how we train. They're manual espresso machines. So the students learn how to weigh out their espresso. They learn how to pull a proper shot of espresso. They learn latte art. We have 4 modules: introduction to coffee, and then the barista foundation, intermediate, and professional. And that last one kind of goes through how to run a cafe. So we're talking about costs, we're talking about inventory, hiring. This is also part where I partner with the reentry, like our jobs trainer, and we go through resumes, interview prep, things like that. So when they're on the outside, that they're prepared to do that. And not saying that they'll get a manager job off the gate, but it's good to know those skills already to understand, how the cafe actually runs. We also have certificates, so they'll get up to 4 certificates for each of these modules, and they can take, and it's kind of fun. So, so the picture right here, this is one of our graduate students who I was incredibly proud of. She decided she didn't want a barista. She didn't like the one-on-one interaction with customers, which fair. It's a little gritty sometimes, but so this is Legend, and Legend actually went on the radio with me at Capital Public Radio's Insight, and she was a production roaster and then promoted to one of 2 head roasters at Bewley's. And these are the other partners that we work with: Terra Nova Coffee, Camellia Coffee Roasters, and like I said before, Workbench Coffee for any coffee technician program that they would want to, get into. So so this picture is actually our second, we call them Ladies to the Front latte art competitions. And we invite some of our partners out as guest judges, and we just have a lot of fun. It's simple. It's latte art, and they're judged on how they're pouring their milk, which is a definite skill to have. So let's see. Sorry. So we absolutely want more students. We're in the process of getting more students into the program. Like I said, it's they usually get in, there's like a list of things that they have to do. Like one of them, they can't be violent offenders, right? So they kind of go through this list, the reentry team does, and then and I never say no to anyone. They want to be part of the program, they're in, like, as far as I'm concerned. So I let the reentry deputies handle all of that. So we want to expand within the community to get more partners who want to build with Redemption Coffee, and hopefully, get more jobs out there for these women. And we would like to be in more facilities, jails, prisons. So we're in the process of kind of like building it out. Also, we have a new program that is being attached to the barista program, which is roasting. So we just got a sample roaster. So the women will learn how to roast coffee, which is, that's just another skill. There's so many men outside of just like the barista. It's very male dominated. So I love to put out women in these male dominated fields, which is like roasting, green buying. We have this thing like Q graders where your job is to taste coffee. So that's not too shabby. And that's actually how Legend discovered that she wanted to roast. We had a guest speaker, Molly Moison, and she came out with a bunch of green beans, which is a coffee before it's roasted, and taught the students how to pick out defects in these green beans and how to pick a good batch of coffee that they want to, have a contract with and get the beans when they're ready to ship. So that was really short. I'm so sorry. I didn't think it.
All right, we'll take questions from the audience first, and then we'll go to our Zoom audience.
And then I'm gonna drool all over myself. No. I just did.
Are you ready?
I am. I'm sorry.
Okay, this is just a really exciting thing to hear about.
Oh,
I
thank
know how hard it is when people come out of jail with a record to find a job. And this must be just so inspiring to the women that you serve there. How many people can you have in your training program at one time?
We can have up to 12 people because there's 2 instructors. So there's 2 kind of different shifts. So right now we have 3 and just trying to work on getting more. So
That's
I think the most 6 was the most I had at one time.
That's just wonderful.
Yeah, thank
Congratulations.
you.
All right. I absolutely would echo those sentiments. Yeah, terrific work. That's it's so great. It's inspiring to hear that this kind of program's going on.
Thanks.
And I'm curious, the adoption rate. So you've got a population of incarcerated gals. You make them aware that this program is available.
Mhm.
Do all of them jump on it? Do half of them say, yeah, I
No.
want to do this? How's that work?
Yeah, they don't all jump on it, which surprises me because I would not like to be in the dorm all the time. Like I would be like, no, get me out of here. But yeah, they don't all jump on it. I don't think everyone is able to jump on it too because of either, I think like pre-sentencing. So these would be, that they would have to be sentenced already. I think we're trying to get around a little bit of that in some cases, but a lot of the people that are being housed at Rio Cosumnes right now are pre-sentence. So we don't know how long they're going to be there. And the shortest time frame for my program, and I think a majority of the programs out there is 4 months.
Thank you so much, Jamie.
Thank you.
Is Redemption Coffee the name of a coffee house or your
Just ours.
organization?
Yeah. So we
Just yours.
voted on it and we voted on a name and that was the one that won like in the beginning. So
And that's based at the Rio Cosumnes
Yeah.
College.
yeah, so we hope to get more Redemption coffees out there, but
Okay, thank you.
as of right now, it's just us.
How many women have come through the program successfully and have actually been hired and are working in the community now?
So I've had about 25 to 28 students for my time there since 2021. And 5 have been hired like on the outside. And I believe only 1 has returned to jail out of those women, which isn't due to just my program, just to let everyone know. I think it's really important to understand that reentry, like, again, I'm just such a small part of it. We've got reentry officers, we have our counselors out there. They go through, I guess like group sessions. They have like different classes that they have to take on top of Redemption Coffee. So there's like 4 or 5 other classes that the women take to help them, have that kind of, I guess, the guidance when they leave. They also get that kind of support, not just from us on the outside, but with the reentry officers for 6 months to a year if they want it, to, help them transition into their new lives.
Wonderful and inspiring work that you're doing, Jamie. From start to finish, if a woman wants to enter this program, how long approximately does it take from when they start the program until they're employable in the workforce, so to speak? And also, is there a support group after they've become employed to support them as they go on?
Yeah. So my program is 4 to 6 months, and if I only have them for 4 months, I make sure that they get all modules in that 4 months. And when they leave, when they leave Rio Cosumnes, and along with the other reentry staff, we follow them. I have gone on interviews with my graduates as well to introduce them. We've practiced on the outside. Allison, the other instructor, and we always, if they want it, we never force it, take them out to lunch when they leave, see where they're at, if they still want a job in coffee. And every week to the women who want it, Allison and I always touch base. And I know that the counselors out at Rio and the deputies also touch base. I'm just not sure how often. But the women that we train, we're with them 5 days a week, all day. And they're important to us too. And we want them to be successful. So we definitely, it might be a little bit of hand holding, but I feel like you need that sometimes, especially when you're starting a new life. So.
So I'm assuming that being a barista is under the $20 an hour structure for minimum wage, because it's a fast food. But I didn't know there was that big of a turnover in baristas that you would be able to find positions for them out there.
Yeah, well,
I know there are a million coffee shops.
there,
but-
yeah, there, I mean, if we're not even talking just about like Starbucks or Pete's, right? Which I worked for Starbucks for 6 years in the like late 90s. So that was a great company to work for. And I learned a lot through them. So I always, if they want a job at Starbucks, I guide them in that direction. But in specialty coffee, if we're talking about like a Temple, there is, you know, so many new cafes opening, which is kind of that part where it's just like, I need to go out and make those connections with these new cafes and these new roasters. Because there's plenty of jobs. And you're right, like is starting off pay for a barista is around 20, but then I always say, find a cafe with like a food program. And then you get tips on top of that. And all of these, especially like the third wave and Starbucks too, you know, you get benefits too, which is important. Sick time, vacation, you get all that.
So my question is about Starbucks and pairing up with Starbucks. Is that what you're doing in Pete's or not?
No, so I'm not a partner with Starbucks, actually. I mean, I'm just gonna say that Starbucks was one of the companies that they tried to work with and they wouldn't work with officers. However, I won't deny that there are Starbucks all over. So that's a good job. That's a really good job, a very flexible job, a good paying job. So I will partner with them because I work with the sheriff's department. They have denied me a badge and a gun on multiple occasions. So, so I think I fly under the radar for them. Yeah.
How is your program funded?
Deputy Brunsfold. Wait, you have to come up here, wait. It's a good question.
We get a lot of grant funding. So our basis was originally from AB 109. So when AB 109 passed in 2011, and they started pushing programs out of the county jails, out of the prisons, that's where our funding started. We're also funded through a program called RSAT, which stands for the Residential Substance Abuse Treatment Program. And so we gained funding from that. We also have multiple different vocations within our facility. And so some tend to make more money than others. We have a full engraving program that is available to the community as well as our department in general. And so that tends to be under one umbrella of money that comes into the program. So because that makes so much money, we're able to loop money from that into other programs. So that's one of the ways that we are able to purchase things like the roaster that we just got for her and the multitude of equipment that is in that shop that is standard for a professional coffee shop. So I also want to note one thing that she has not brought up, and I think a couple of people asked about it, is that the employment rate. Her program is actually our most successful program we have right now in terms of participants that come in are then placed in the same work environment. So in coffee in some way. A lot of our other programs teach vocations, though they may not go into that career field. It teaches them, work ethic. Hers is the one that has had the most participants actually enter the same workforce that they're trained in. So.
He handles the money questions. I'm like, yeah.
Okay, so I don't know much about this, what it means for a person who has been incarcerated what makes it so they are bondable? For example, if they, their crime or misdemeanor for being there was they stole money. Okay, because so many services that you get, they'll say, oh, our technicians are bonded. And I guess that means that they're, they haven't had a problem with,
Yeah.
with money. So in a situation like what you have there, is that an issue?
It's not. So the partners I work with, they trust me. I've been in the Sacramento coffee industry since 1995. So if I don't, and I've had this happen before where if I don't trust one of my students, that I don't think that they're going to give our program a good name, because that is what this industry is all about. It's about, like, I don't want my name tarnished, and I certainly don't want Redemption Coffee's name tarnished. Like, don't hire from them. So I use my best judgment for these women, and my partners in the community trust me. So that hasn't come up. I don't even know if I have access to it, but like, I never ask what they're in there for. I don't think that's any of my business. When they're in the coffee shop, I like to kind of call it a sanctuary. I know that they're in jail. I know where I work, but when they're in the coffee shop, that is work. I call them by their first names. You'll never hear me call them an inmate. I'm trying to make the most normal setting for them as possible, because that's going to help them when they get out on the outside too. And because I've had a graduate call me and say, I stopped at a threshold. So they're not only like learning all of these new skills in coffee, they're actually, they've been in the system for so long that they're looking for permission to cross a threshold. So it has not, it hasn't been an issue for us yet, knock on wood, but, hopefully that won't be an issue in the future. And I can say hope, but that kind of issue can come up with anyone too, not just someone that's been incarcerated. So, yeah.
Obviously, you don't have a drive-through, but does the coffee that you produce, does it go to any of the other inmates? Can the inmates in the facility come in and get a coffee?
Yeah.
Or something?
We like a few months ago, we just started, I don't even know what it's Deputy Loza. He'll, like, the gentleman on one of his sides, like, which is another, I think, is that part of reentry? They are able to use commissary money to purchase coffees as well. Also, we will sell to like the rec, or if there's like a special thing going on for reentry, they'll come and grab coffee from us. So yeah, some of the people that are housed out there get our coffee.
And this might be a question for the reentry officer, but it's about that bonding problem.
Yeah.
That you can't be in a profession where you go into somebody's home if you've been incarcerated.
Yeah.
So finding jobs that you can train people for where they don't require the company to be bonded, is that difficult for you?
Many of the professions, so you mentioned going into homes, and with that, I've actually had one person reach out to me because he's trying to get, how do I explain this? He has to show proof that he has done things, and so our program is one of those things. And so he's kind of in that process of, I don't know that he's trying to necessarily go through expungement, but just sort of in order to get that license to be able to go into people's houses, he's trying to do home renovation, in which case you'd have to enter houses. And that is a roadblock that he is running into. And he's actually been out of the program for probably about 8 years now, because it is a process. There are roadblocks that come up to them once they're in the outside, which is why, as Jamie mentioned, we do try to follow them on the outside. As they're released, they do go through an exit plan with the reentry specialists that go over what are their main goals of once they're getting released, whether that be, they're trying to get employment, they're trying to reconnect with family, they're trying to stay clean, all these sort of things. And so, and it is a road. And so, whereas she said we can stay in contact with them 6 months to a year out, That doesn't mean that we just, it's, 365 days and goodbye and good luck to them. We have participants that have reached out to us over many years. In fact, just recently we received someone's 5-year chip in the mail. They were so proud of their AA chip that they sent it to us in the mail. So the bonded thing can become an issue. Many of the vocations that we have right now don't require people to go into other people's homes. So we have our wild horse program out there, our engraving program, we have a welding program. And so we try to, the big thing that our Lieutenant Rose, who retired, but when he was looking for vocations, he was always trying to find ones that were, had a livable wage, they were felon friendly, it's the third thing, and locally in demand. And so that's where those things are. As Jamie's mentioned, she's has a huge voice within the Sacramento community, which is why she's been so successful with placing participants in the community, in the workforce, is because she has that voice, which is a big thing that's important to us, because we don't want them to get out of custody and then just, like I said, goodbye and good luck. We want to continue to support them. So is that kind of a little bit. So as Jamie kind of mentioned a little bit, COVID was kind of a big thing for us. We did previously have a general construction program. We also have a welding program. We have a landscaping program, the Wild Horse program. We have a culinary program, a beekeeping program, custodial program, and I'm probably forgetting a couple also in there. Unfortunately, with COVID, it has caused a slowdown in our court system. We want people to have 4 months remaining in custody, and the only way to kind of verify that is them actually being officially sentenced. And with the courts being slow, it's slowed down those sentence numbers, and so our program has suffered because of it. And so because of that, we've had to close down temporarily some of our programs, and our construction program is one of those, because it's better for us to have a number of people in one program than like one person in each program, because then you're having money for an instructor in each one of those programs as well. But yes, we want to get back to the trades. As I've said, we have welding, an auto program. We also have an automotive program where people, our participants can engraving. Yes. In our auto program, they can receive ASE certs, and things like that. Our welding program, same thing. So we like the trades because they are employable that way. And we're just trying to get more people involved in it. So that kind of answer your question. All right, perfect.
A job applicant with a criminal record, are they required to reveal that in the application process? Yeah, I think the law was changed, wasn't it?
Yeah, that I'm actually not positive of, to ask it now. So
Well, that would
Yeah.
be a major change for these applicants. And
yeah, it's I do know, I think some of them still have to do background checks depending on what they are. That's why I said a lot of the vocations that we like to do are already felon friendly. So one of the things they actually did close down custodial for a little while in certain aspects is because some of the big places that you can get good living wages for in the custodial thing are many of the places that won't hire felons right now, which is, schools and hospitals necessarily. And so the world is changing, and trying to and understanding that programs like this exist. And so people have a past and are able to change. And that's kind of what we try to push forward, is that people are able to change. But as for the exact, like, as she said, county to county could be different. So I'm less versed in what those laws are, to be honest.
I know that even in some of the fields that require state licensure, students or individuals who are trying to get into the field but have a record can petition the licensing boards, and they will sometimes consider and make an exception. And I know we had a student come through our program here at Sac State in physical therapy, and she had a record. And when it came time to apply to get her license, she wasn't eligible for the license. And so she appealed to the licensing board with a letter of support from us. And they put her on a probationary program where she couldn't work independently as a PT. She couldn't go out and open her own practice, but she could work in a hospital setting under supervision for a period of time. And then they gradually reduced the time of the probationary period and shortened it. And she's been practicing now for, let's see, she graduated from our program, I want to say back in 97. So, yeah, she's been out there a long time.
It's good.
Successful.
Yeah.
I've been very fortunate to be able to tour your facility a couple of times. And would you talk a little bit about the Wild Horse program? Because that was my favorite.
So, that started before, I think it was back in probably about 2013, 2014 when it opened it up. We have a ranch that's attached at our branch jail. It's just outside of our fence line. We partner with the Bureau of Land Management. So they help collect horses off the wild Mustangs. The reason being is that they overpopulate the land and they're actually dying off because of it, because they're overpopulated. And so the Bureau of Land Management, BLM, has holding facilities. And so we have a ranch manager who is a contracted staff member who will work with BLM to get a batch of wild Mustangs from some of the different ranges that are both in California and Nevada, and have them brought down to our facility. They start out completely wild. These are horses that have had very little human interaction. And they go from that point over a 120-day program to being adopted out to the community as being what's referred to as saddle started. So they over time start with gentle touches to get the horses acquainted with them. And then moving all the way through that. And so it's a 6-level process. And so it is, again, participants that are in custody that are, we have a van. It is not a, lockdown hardcore van. It is literally just a Econoline van that they are taken next door to our ranch. And they work with the horses. They are the ones actually doing the training through an instructor who is teaching them how to do those things. It teaches them not only work ethic, because they have to be up quite early in the morning. It is very hard work. If any of you have ever worked on a ranch, it is not the easiest job. They do all aspects of working on the ranch, which means that they are not only riding and training the horses, but they are also grooming and mucking and all aspects of it, feeding, everything. They go all the way up to the point of being able to learn to ride. And then at level 6, it's actually one of the things that is in level 6 is that they need to start training the new participants that come in. So it becomes actually kind of a revolution, which is really nice. And with that, like I said, we've got, they are then adopted out to the community. We have also had other law enforcement agencies, the Sacramento Sheriff's Office, as well as neighboring law enforcement agencies, have actually also come in and used them for their own mounted patrol horses. So I actually think we have 2 or 3 on our own department right now that were trained by our participants. So it's a really cool program. There's a couple different, if you kind of go on YouTube, there's actually a couple different links out there where we've had media come out and talk to them multiple times. And one of our most successful stories is actually there's a participant who has started his own farrier business, which is horseshoeing. He, I think, actually makes more than me. And not only did he get out and have his own business, but one of the things that he gained from is he got out and he actually contacted the IRS pretty quickly after getting out to find out what he owed in back taxes, because it was important to him that he wanted to be absolutely above bar with every portion of it to make this company successful. Shortly after that, he bought his own brand new nice truck. He works at a facility and travels all over the Sacramento and Bay Area, and I think might even be further than that now, as a farrier. And he is very, it's not a lot of people do it, and so it's a very specified thing, and so he's very successful, and we're quite proud of him.
Thank you both for the presentation that you've given today. From this audience in this room, say in our 3rd chapter of life, what type of support do you need from a group like this?
Lots of different things. I appreciate y'all being here. You have an open mind for these sort of things and recognize that there is people that are changing. And I think it's kind of passing that word along to people of the idea that keeping an open mind thing. And I understand that that is kind of the pot calling the kettle black a little bit, considering the agency, the industry that I work in. And that is a unique role for a law enforcement officer to be in, is kind of this almost not social worker, but this is other aspect where we teach a class on what we do when recruits come out of the academy and explain, because we always get the rolled eyes whenever AB 109 and all that sort of stuff comes up, and explaining to them that, like, hey, we're all part of public safety. And if you guys are trying to get people who are committed crimes off the streets, we're trying to have them come into custody and get a change of mind process, so that when they return out to society, they don't continue to commit crimes. So it's kind of spreading that word of that people can change, things like that. One of the things that we always run into with people coming out of custody is housing. When they come into custody, one of the things that they're often coming from is either homelessness or just an unsafe environment. I've had participants who come in where even it's their own parents for the unsafe environment. Once, in past releases, it's been their parent who's had, a pipe ready for them in the car once they get out. And it's just kind of the revolving door because of that. And so we try to get them into safe environments, sober living environments. And Sacramento County, there's just a lack of those that are good. We definitely have people who've tried some, and it's kind of come across as a little bit of a money grab, to be honest. And so we want them to be able to be placed in an area where they feel supported and safe, and are able to be successful. So I guess that's kind of the big point that I would try to get across with it.
Google is our friend. I just got Google real quick on this business of the woman question, and I did see in my quick reading that it was an expansion of Title VII. Title VII is the federal anti-discrimination clause, we can't discriminate against gender. Yeah, it was then expanded to incarceration.
Did that start this year?
Good enough. Appreciate that. Yeah. That is.
I was just wondering if you partner with the community college system to teach any vocational programs. I mean, they need students pretty bad right now, so you might think about it if you're not.
So the community college system, or the college system, not so much. We actually, prior to COVID, we actually did partner with Los Rios. And it's just something that has not been re-upped. However, our education system and actually a number of our vocation programs actually come through the Elk Grove Unified School District. So it is still brought in from the community. So our welding program, our culinary program, our automotive program, and our landscaping program are all, we have instructors that come from Elk Grove Unified School District. And that is also the ones that put on our, GED courses and parenting courses, things like that.
ROP.
I don't believe so, no.
Program. Project Rebound?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've come in, actually done a presentation with us before.
I have some questions from the audience out there in the cyberspace. And this came up early on in the discussion, so you may have already covered this. Why do previously incarcerated women face more challenges than men?
The big one is that the women are usually the caregivers, not always, right? And they are struggling to get their children. That's the biggest one that I hear from my students is that getting their child back into their custody. So which reentry helps with all of that kind of stuff as well.
And with that, sorry, is again, housing is there's many of them, like I said, they are the caregiver. And so there are less, victims of domestic violence. So there are less housing facilities out there that will also accept families. That's a difficult thing for them to handle. And so there are 2 of them that I know of that are specifically for women or for families. But it is just that extra hill for them to get over is finding suitable housing that will also allow families to come in.
And the second question is more of a, what do you think kind of question? Would you be interested in working with other community organizations who support people with significant barriers if the folks they support are not previously incarcerated? So maybe disability of some sort, I think is what she's getting
I'm
at.
gonna say yes. I always say yes.
You said without an incarceration history?
That's not. for her.
That's probably, yeah, so our program is specifically for in custody, so that's less something that I would handle, but.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, both of you. We get
Thank
2.
you.
We get 2 for the price of 1. Officer Brunfeld, do you have a first name? Larson. Larson and Jamie. This is a wonderful talk. I think every one of us